Cancer. I'm Love from Leo, and today is going to be your November 2018 tarot reading, horoscope, intuitive prediction, whatever you would like to call it. So we're mostly going to be in Scorpio season, but then it is going to lead into Sagittarius. Scorpio season for you guys, I feel like can be pretty easy for you to deal with. It may be a little more structured, which can be really beneficial for Cancer in lots of different ways. It just depends on, which way it played out in your life. So right now I'm just shuffling just to make sure everything is set and clear. I've already, set the intention that I want to make sure you guys get the best reading that I can possibly give you for this time, and for you to really be able to plan and master your November for this year. Okay? So let's go ahead and see what's going to be coming out for the beginning of your November. Okay? Uh-oh. I got two cards that came out, and I'm going to pull the last one. Here we go. Alrighty, so what we're actually dealing with in the beginning of your November, we have here the Lover's card in reverse. So for some of you, if you are in a relationship, this is basically just meaning that in the beginning of your November, love is going to be pretty up, how it looks, upside down. It may be new perspectives you're seeing, or maybe you're starting to see that you and your partner are not as compatible as you thought. This could also mean that if you are not in a relationship, you're definitely not worried about a love life at the moment, okay? So let's go ahead and see how this plays out for whoever you are, whatever type of Cancer you are. All right, so we have the Knave of Pentacles starting off your November. So this is saying that you are definitely going to be focused on your finances, your money, and I feel like this has to deal with a certain type of endeavor that you've been focusing on, like saving, maybe some passed down possessions. I feel like that maybe you've been keeping up with, maybe some old items that you cherish a lot, you're keeping up with. There's a sense of possessions and you caring about it very, very much, okay? So that's how we're starting off your November. Let's go ahead and see if there's any more. Okay, we got one that came out. We have Libra in reverse, okay? So this leads me to believe that during Libra season, there was an unfortunate, justice that had to happen, whether it was to you or for someone else. I feel like things were balanced out now, but at the time maybe your finances were not where you wanted them to be, and maybe you wanted to do things during Libra season and it just wasn't working out because you had not prepared in the ways that you needed to. And this could have been in multiple different ways, not just finances, but just emotionally. Maybe you had the intentions to do something, your money was right, but you felt like it wasn't the time to go and do something. So let's go ahead and see. As we move forward, we have the Knight of Swords here in reverse. So this is someone jumping to conclusions. This is what I like to, envision this as. Someone who is kind of just going off of their first thought and not feeling out the moment. I feel like if this is referring to you as a Cancer, I feel like since you guys are, water signs, it's beneficial for you to feel out the situation, right? Or at least to try to feel out how you feel about a situation, so you know what type of emotions you're dealing with before you go into something. This leads me to believe that someone who is, emotionally dominant, or a person who is, a water sign, for example, you, like a Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces, I feel like this is someone who is just kind of going off for their first thought and not really giving it the feeling and emotional discretion that it deserves. So what is it that we made a decision on, or what do we jump to conclusion on? What details can we get about that situation? Okay, so we got two cards. So it seems as though you made a conclusion, or you jumped to a conclusion that you maybe wanted to leave a certain job, change a job, or maybe you felt like you had reached a goal as far as finances, but then you found out that was not the right path or journey for you. And so you had to do some rethinking, replanning. And I feel like for some of you, if you were a Cancer who was not stable, this really, really freaked you out, whatever this was. This sense of insecurity, whether it's physically in the third dimension, meaning that you don't have the necessary tools financially to get something done, or if it's like spiritually, you feel like you aren't enough to possess or manifest the things that you have been working really hard for. So there's a sense of someone being afraid, or maybe not necessarily being afraid, but being a little jumpy because they're so nervous, and maybe you're making decisions too fast and you're not thinking them through, or you're not feeling how the situation really feels. You're just going off of what makes sense and what other people are saying logically would make sense. But you have to remember, as a Cancer, you create a lot of your own reality. So sometimes what other people do in order to get things done, you can find a way to do it a whole different way, that they would never be able to tell you, hey, try it this way. So don't always knock yourself whenever you're trying to come up with new ways, or if you feel like you know the answer but you're trying to go with what everyone else has told you or everyone else's advice. If you feel something in your gut as a Cancer, you normally should follow it 100%, if you know that you have been doing things to get you on the right track. If you're a Cancer who has been doing things that has been manipulative or not stable, or if you feel unstable, maybe you need to make sure you're stable before you go and make a decision about something, okay? That all comes with just being disciplined, being honest with yourself, and knowing how you feel versus what is actually going on. You have to know how to distinguish that, right? So 4 of Pentacles. So 4 of Pentacles, I do like this card. This is definitely still on the subject of money or finances, some type of possession, security, foundation. That's the word that I'm hearing as well. You're definitely worried about this. You're worried about saving and security. But what I like about this card is this is when you have pretty much mastered that cycle. So whether you've mastered how to save, or you've mastered, you just have, a good savings, and now you're just, sitting with it and you feel very comfortable in your financial state. But I also still feel that there's some of you who definitely still feel very, very insecure, or a little like more of like you don't have enough. You'll never have enough. You'll never truly have enough for what you need to conquer or acquire or achieve in your life that you're trying to do. I feel like some of you guys really feel that way. You feel that you need more. It's like almost to a point where it's like a greed, not an obsession, but just greed for money. And I feel like either it's messing with you, either you're gonna not be appreciative of the things that you have, or it's gonna show you that you're being just greedy, and that's also not how you need to be, because the universe will show you, if you feel like you need more, will show you that you really don't, and it'll take more, and it'll show you how to work with less material, right? So be very careful with that. Try to be very appreciative of the things that you have, but you can also be very, very cautious of how you spend. That relationship with spending versus saving is very, very important. And I'm sure to Cancers it is, for sure. But you have to make sure you have a good balance, and make sure that you're not, did you guys see how those cards flew out? Okay, so yes, this is just what I was about to say. You have to make sure that you're not taking your work or your money and making that how you express your emotions. I feel like when you feel comfortable emotionally, maybe you don't work as hard at work, or maybe you don't think about saving as much, maybe you don't worry about your bills as much. But I feel like whenever you're sad, or someone had you really mad, you start really feeling like you're not doing enough in work, and it translates in, oh, I'm not working hard enough. And I don't know where that correlation is coming from, but I feel like this is very, very true for most of you Cancers out there. And if it isn't work, it's some type of motivation or a passion that you have, or something that you're obligated to do in order to keep other things that you love afloat. You know what I mean? You translate and you express how you feel through how you survive. And I think that's, it can be really good, because it can push you at times, to really get things done. But at the same time, you don't want to rely on your emotions to tell how you're going to feel when it comes to finances, or how you're going to be spending that day, because that's very, that can be really crazy depending on how crazy things get for you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the middle of your November. Let's go ahead and shuffle. So the beginning of the November definitely is going to be based on possessions, maybe domestic life, if it isn't money, but I'm pretty sure it's finances, okay? So that's what the beginning of your November is pretty much based on. But also family, okay? Middle of November for Cancer. Okay. Move this out the way. Okay. Okay, so the subject for your middle of your November, we have the Sun card in reverse, okay? So this is basically saying that you definitely are going to be receiving some really good news, or something is going to happen that you've been wanting to happen. It's just going to happen in a way that you least expect it. Or maybe not least expected, but you definitely aren't planning your package to come in the way that it comes, okay? So details. We have the Star card here. This is, the card of hope, having, a stance in something that you believe in, having a hope for something in the future, having a destiny, a dream, something that you want to manifest. But this is something that's like deep within you. This is something that is just kind of like it's a companion to your soul, whatever this hope is. And this can be, something that you realize consciously or not. But in the same breath, this is something that you just feel naturally okay with. You feel that this is something that you want. There isn't any like questioning it, whatever it is, right? This is also associated with the Aquarius zodiac sign. So this could be dealing with an Aquarius in your life, okay? Or again, this could just be dealing with some type of hope or something that you are wanting to manifest, something that you will manifest. And it's saying basically that you're in good hands here. Or at least that card is signifying that whoever it is that you reached out to, they heard it, they're at least it's in review, right? And it's being processed. But the way it looks, it's upright. I'm pretty sure that you're going to get it, especially because we had, remember, the subject being the sun in reverse. And remember, with sun in reverse, you get exactly what you want, but it's just not in the way that you expect it. So I think you're going to achieve that. It's just maybe going to be in a different time, a different way, a different setting than you expected. But let's go ahead and see. What does this relate to? What is the hope or dream? Actually, let's go ahead and use the past life oracle deck here. I like how that looks with my lights over there. Alrighty, so for Cancer, in the middle of November, we have the Star card. What is this associated with? What part of Cancer's life is this associated with in November 2018? Okay, one card got flipped over. Knighthood, okay? So for some of you, this could be if you're someone who's looking for a mate, if you're trying to attract male energy to come your way, to be someone who is protective, someone who makes you feel secure. This is also could be for the Cancers who are trying to become a little bit more strong, when it comes to their emotions, or maybe they want to be a little bit more tough on the exterior because, they want to be safe. They want to be able to endure the war or the battles that come their way without feeling so vulnerable. So I feel like this plays out in a lot of different ways. This could also play out as maybe a Sagittarius in your life that you want, or maybe a situation that you want to unfold with a person who has very fiery or even air-like qualities, I would say, like Aquarius, Gemini, or Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra. But I'm only saying that because I see the sword here and it caught my attention. But nonetheless, again, it's following, this pattern of this Libra energy, or this balance, this justice. There's a sense of completeness, or something needs to be completed, or something's trying to reach the level of some type of like learning or leveling up when it comes to understanding something. But I feel like it takes maturity, and it takes training, it takes discipline. I feel like it takes a lot of things, hope, keeping, a foundation alive, and being smart as well, being, able to maneuver the different transits and emotions and people and circumstances that come your way, but also trying to get to the bigger picture, the bigger outcome, the result of it all. But I definitely think it involves something or someone that you are either striving to get towards, or they are someone who puts in a lot of effort to make sure that whatever it is that you do is protected, okay? Moving on. Next, we have the Fool card in reverse, okay? So this could be a sign that you went back on something that you did before, or maybe you're going back to familiar journeys, familiar paths, familiar attitudes, or maybe just familiar desires. I feel like there's a sense of, maybe it's not a core desire, but it's something that your ego kind of wants either now or before. It doesn't really matter when it wanted it, but I feel like for some reason that connection is coming back to the surface right smack in the middle of your November. Let's go ahead and see why. What is this dealing with? What card in reverse? Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is dealing with a past disappointment or some form of letdown. And obviously this is something that could have been very emotional, but logically it had a different effect on you. Maybe it made you a little bit more cold, but definitely some type of betrayal in some form of communication that I feel like failed. And I feel like this is maybe a partnership, a past journey, a past a past time of being naive, maybe just not knowing your own boundaries. Maybe it had nothing to do with anyone else. Maybe you just made yourself, maybe you disappointed yourself in some type of way. You feel like you let yourself down. There's definitely, here's your card here. You have the moon card in reverse. So some things that you weren't revealing, maybe the inside you, you know, there's definitely a sense of not, it's like you're cold, you're shut off. You want to do more, but you can't. There's a cycle that, you know, ended, but there's something that's being, like, there's something that's coming that's huge. It's a birth or something. It's like a renewal, a beginning of something. And I feel like it's big, and it'll bring you lots of peace. And I actually think you'll be able to conquer a lot more things, but just because you're peaceful. You'll be honest. You'll have clarity. You'll be able to use the resources around you, and you'll find your power. But for some reason, none of that can really be achieved right now because you are so, I don't know if secretive is the right word, but you're not looking at what's happening. You're not looking at how everything that you feel really does play out in what you do. Like, I don't think you realize how much your emotional self, whether you hide it or not, I don't think you realize how it makes or breaks how you come off to people, how you feel about certain things that, you know, that are happening in your life. And all of those things are really important because all of those things have connections to, you know, emotions and attitudes and how you treat things. And all, again, everything you do that you partake in affects, you know, it's like, you know, when you throw a pebble and it ripples through the water, you make one splash and it keeps going. So it's like, that's how it is just in life. Like, if you are doing that to yourself, it's like you're not going to be able to understand the balance because you won't let anything flow. And as water, that's your main job. I mean, that's your first job, you know, to let things flow and to feel emotion and to connect and to understand and to also be understood. But in order to do that, you have to kind of understand yourself first. You have to understand what went wrong. Like, it's okay to move past things, but you can't really move past things if you can't think about it, you know, without having triggers. Or it's like if you still have certain triggers and you feel like you've moved past something, but if someone brings someone up and you can't talk about them, or they have to leave, or they can't talk about that around you, you're not really over it. And so I feel like that's kind of the thing. Like, you feel, for example, I'm just going to throw this out. For example, if you're a Cancer who has been trying to lose weight, and you've been telling people, oh, I'm going to lose weight, and you haven't done it, and you make jokes about yourself about being fat, and then one day someone makes a joke about it because they think you're comfortable with it because, you know, you've talked about it in public before, and you've also talked about the fact you haven't lost any weight. And if you come off as a person who's, you know, trying to portray themselves as confident, and another person sees that and they're like, oh, well, I thought I could say it too, you know, if it's just like a, you know, a moment where everyone's joking around and you take offense to it and the whole mood switches, it's like, you know, it's confusing to the other person, but it's also showing, it's a reflection that you're confused yourself. It's like you want to come off as one way, but you're showing another. But if someone else crosses over a certain line, then they're a bad person as well. But it's really just you chasing your ego. And I feel like that's what's happening. And it's something that I feel like sometimes gets revealed in your everyday life, like in a situation that I just stated. But it's something that you look over. It's something that you just kind of, I don't want to say you act like you don't realize it, but it's just something that just isn't pinpointed yet. But I feel like the further you get into your November, we may get to that point. Let's go ahead and see. So this also may have a lot to do with your goals that you want to achieve, or maybe the path that you feel like you should have taken in life. Like, I feel like a lot of emotions are being brought up to the surface. And definitely when we're in the middle of November, you know, the end of Scorpio season, excuse me, we're wrapping up a lot of those emotions, those fixed emotions, those deep, deep, deep desires, and it could be resurfacing, you know, whenever we're about to close that out. And then leading into Sagittarius season, where it's kind of like exploration, expansion, and just kind of discovering. And that could be really confusing for a Cancer who can't even figure out where they stand emotionally with things. Because, like I said, emotions for you guys are kind of just the playing field of how your day is going to go, how everyone around you going to treat you because of how you're really expressing yourself. All of that stuff matters, but I know it can be really hard to think about the rest of the ocean when you're just one fish in the ocean, right? Or if you're just one crab, you know, in the ocean. So it's not like it's your place to try to make everyone feel comfortable around you, but you have to use everyone as a reflection and figure out what it is that you're giving off, what is it in your life that you're projecting, just based on the things that you do on the day-to-day basis. And I feel like that'll help you uncover more of that feeling of betrayal, maybe that insecurity that you have. There's a rooted issue, and I can't figure out where it's at yet, but it has so much to do with your self-esteem and the core of who you are as a Cancer. We move on to the World card in reverse. So again, there's an imbalance, and it needs to be, you know, figured out. How could we, let's use this zodiac deck here. What can Cancer do to make their world seem more peaceful, more whole, and not so deconstructed or unstable? Whatever this feeling is, what can be done? Oh, it needs to be integrated to the situation for my Cancers. One second. Okay, so we have Libra. So I basically asked, what do we need to do to bring balance back into your life? And it's saying you just need to find the balance. You have to figure out what it is, what you can do to restore the balance in your life. You also have to be able to look at other perspectives. You have to be able to compromise. That's a big thing that Libra does or carries. You have to compromise. Sometimes it's not always going to be something that you want to do. And if it's something that you just absolutely feel like, you know, doesn't sit right with you, then just don't do it. You have every, you know, right, and it's your prerogative to choose that. But you have to understand that everything's not going to go the way that you want it to simply because you want it to go that way, or simply because you feel that it needs to go that way or it should go that way. So in order to fix problems like that, or to fix that feeling of, oh shit, we can't find the balance, it's never going to work, you know, and like, you know, wanting to kill the person, find the balance. Find how you guys can use each other in a way, or if this is just a situation with you trying to figure out yourself, figure out what's the good and the bad about you. Figure out what's your strengths and weaknesses in certain situations. Look at your life. Like, just be real with yourself. Sit down, have a sit down, and really just listen to yourself. Look at what happens in your day-to-day life. Listen how you talk to people on a day-to-day basis, how you walk, how you feel when you're walking. You have to tap in. It's the little things that people look over every day that literally holds the key to the rest of the universe, such as feeling the energy, listening to nature, looking at the things happening around you, watching what nature shows you, watching what universe shows you, watching, you know, synchronicities happen right in front of your eyes every single day. But you have to become connected to it. The more that you get wrapped up in how you feel, the less connected you become to what you can become or what you can achieve, because you're missing all of the signs. You know, your senses are off when you're wrapped up in here or in here trying to figure out how you feel. You have to learn how to balance that, or at least figure out when it's time to think about that and when it's not. Okay? Give yourself some time to really look into when it's time to be, you know, sensing and feeling other things, and when it's time to sense and feel and channel yourself. And I think you'll be okay. So let's go ahead and look into the end of your November. Alrighty. First card out. So the subject that we're surrounding in the end of November is the Knave of Wands, okay? So this is someone or something that has a certain pizzazz to them, and they may do things on a whim. They may do things that's very, very out of the ordinary, but this is a person or a situation where change or a transition comes about very quickly, okay? So let's go ahead and see the details surrounding that. 5 of Cups. So this is saying that you, as a Cancer, I'm guessing, or emotionally, you're just feeling kind of, you know, you feel kind of bored. You may feel like you need something new, or you may feel like there's nothing good happening around you. I feel like almost like a loss of inspiration, a loss of spark. Why is that? Because you're focusing on the negative. You're focusing on all the bad things. Literally, these two cards following each other. This is what you're doing. You're sitting in a whole bunch of nothing. You're thinking everything is bad. You're pretty much having a woe is me moment because you're not looking at your blessing. And so this is how you're coming off. You're seeing yourself as no one cares, no one's listening, the water isn't flowing. But really, universe has a whole present for you, a whole gift for you, you know? And you still have other cups to fill. Fill, not feel. But yeah, so it's kind of like you're self-sabotaging. So try not to do that. We move into, but you know, with Sagittarius season, there should be a little bit of a boost when it comes to the morale around people, or at least the enthusiasm about people. So maybe if you're on good terms with yourself, it'll be a lot easier to jump on that bandwagon of, yay, Sagittarius season. Instead of being like, oh my God, I can't deal with everyone being happy. Like, I feel like you're kind of in this like emo mode where you're just like, fuck everyone. I don't care about emotions, yada, yada. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, yay, the holidays, all this is happening. You know what I mean? Okay, so don't be a party pooper. So we have the Hierophant here in reverse. So what this means to me, this is maybe if you applied to school or something, maybe it's a delay or something that's holding it back. This is also like, instead of being initiated, I feel like someone is demoting themselves or maybe stepping down from a position or a type of profession. But so it doesn't mean that it's bad, but it could be depending on your situation. Let's get a little bit more detail in that. Actually, let's go ahead and use the past life oracle deck. Hierophant in reverse. What part of the life does this refer to for my Cancers? Hierophant in reverse. Okay. All right, so we have Native American here. So I feel like you're stepping down from a way of life of maybe focusing on, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like you're stepping down from maybe the traditions that you held for a while, or maybe the beliefs that you had, or maybe the mindset. I don't think that it was something that was causing any pain or any hurt towards anyone, but I feel like you're just in a position where you need to learn how to be a little bit more peaceful. And so this transition is coming from a place from within that's saying you're not going down, you're stepping down, but you're stepping down from, okay, so in the earthly realm, you may be stepping down from a behavior that is very common among most people. So let's say if you had an anger problem back in the day, now if you're older, you've stepped down from that, you demoted yourself from that anger, which in the earthly realm means you got it going on, you're powerful, you're respected, you know what I mean, all that crazy stuff. So you step down from that, but spiritually you're moving up because you're closer to peace. You're closer to understanding the real meaning of what being here is. You're trying to be a light. You're trying to be a source of good, or not good, but a source of positivity, abundance. And you're not using your energy to waste it on, just letting it burn out. So I feel like you're moving from a behavior or some type of way of looking, a perspective. Maybe you're looking at things really negative at one point. You're definitely moving away from that. So I feel like whatever it is that you're moving from is definitely a positive transition. So I'm not afraid of that at all. And I feel like this is something that you could have done a while back, but you just didn't do it. Maybe you didn't know that it was time to make this happen, or you just weren't spiritually ready. But it's definitely happening now. So to end off your November, we have the Six of Pentacles here. So again, we started with finances and we're ending it. But with this, I feel like this is more of giving and taking. So this is, again, kind of with that balance and figuring out how to be able to preserve yourself and preserve everything you work for, your energy, your emotion. Temperance. So being that this will be Sagittarius season at this time at the end of November, your giving and taking is really going to be able to settle your soul. And I feel like that's really going to hold the keys to you being free mentally and you not feeling like your emotions are holding you back, or that you're sabotaging yourself, or that you're being lied to, or that you're not being clear, or arguing happening. And I feel like you won't feel so overwhelmed as well. It'll bring some type of stability to you, in a way that will make you trust yourself, and it'll give you a better aura, and a confidence that's a little bit, harder to shake. But yeah, so I feel like in your best interest in the end of November is to really focus on your relationships in regards to giving and taking, whether it's spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of the above, all of the relationships in your life. Make sure that the balances in the relationships are correct, for your liking. And then make sure that the people are also worth being connected to. I feel like that's also a really big point that needs to be made in the end of your November, okay? So that is it for you guys today. There will definitely be more videos coming out soon. I really enjoyed reading for you guys. It was definitely informative. I hope that it helped you in more ways than one. If you need a personal reading, just contact me for any information. My email or my Gmail is lovefromaleo@gmail.com. You can add me on Instagram, Snapchat, or email me again for any inquiries that you have. And if I'm not your favorite Leo, one day I will be. And until next time, I will see you, Cancer, very, very soon, okay? Bye.